Michelle, so just going to give you some feedback on your project 3. I'll start with this style guide. I really like how you laid it out. It's very nice and professional. I love the colors that you chose, the earth tones. I think they work really, really well with your client, with your company. As far as the color part goes, I didn't ask you guys for the hex, so I like that you added that, going a little bit above and beyond. We don't cover what that is in class, or I don't know if they go over in color theory, so the fact that you added that, that's cool that you put that in. Table of contents looks good. For the color variations, I like the layout of the logo. I like that she's the A inside of the word farmers, and the variation between the large bold type and then the more handwritten for the daughter part. I think that integrates more of like a natural laid back feel to it. So I think that's a good juxtaposition of those two. Something that I would point out, like if you're to work on it a little bit more, is this dark red color. In certain situations, red and black don't get along well together at all. So you always want to try and avoid putting red on top of black, just because they kind of bleed together, and it's really hard to discern where the red is versus the black. So even though when you look at this you can still read it, it doesn't make as much of an impact as if you had used something a little bit different. Like, it doesn't pop out as much. So I like your color choices. You may want to work on it a little bit, like maybe don't put a stroke around it, because I think strokes are awful on type, but you know, find a way to maybe either brighten this up a little bit or make it pop off of the black, like maybe put like a little bit of white highlight around it or something, just like a white accent, not a stroke though, because that always looks horrible in type. Because as you can see when you look at it too, the brightest elements here are the word daughter and the lighter parts of this girl here. So they're going to be a lot more dominant than the darker shades. So when people glance at it, this is going to pop out a lot, and then the rest of it's going to be very subdued. So you want to try and find a balance so that nothing's much more dominating visually than the other parts of it. This part right here, I think this looks great. So on the white, it works really, really well. I think this looks good. It's just the dark red you're going to have some issues with on the black. So yeah, I love your color palette. Let's see, what was the other stuff? Okay, this is getting into, I guess, the tag. I'll critique you on your tag and everything separately in phase 4. So I'm going to skip over that for just a second. And I think that your type choice worked really well, so no complaints there. I guess my only thing that I would comment on is you have it in this earth tone here, this like dark brown, and then you have it black there. So I would be more consistent and just make these the same color. For the logo itself, on the black and white part, I'd like to see a little bit more variation in the line thickness, because this little line here and all these little lines there are going to get lost very, very easily. So on the black and white variation, I think it'd be great if you thickened them up a little bit and made some areas a little bit thicker than others to give it more variance. And then like this part here, the black, if you have it on a black background, then it's kind of going to look like there's nothing there, as opposed to it being a highlight or where the light's showing, then it's actually going to look like it's a chunk kind of taken out of the dress. So I would maybe play with that a little bit. But the shape of it, I think, looks great. You did a good job on creating her. On the black, again, kind of the same issue you had with the red. This dark color here on the black is going to get lost. So I would try and either add like a little bit of a white highlight on this part just to finish that shape so it pops out, you know, so visually we can see that there's a color there. Or maybe find a different shade of brown, because you can see that because it's so dark, it's going to get lost there. And I think that's the main things. But yeah, I think great color palette. You would just want to look for issues of having too dark of a tone on top of the black color and trying to figure out the best way to make those work. Okay, so great job.